Paris, 1789. The air is thick with hunger, anger, and the smell of revolution. In the shadow of a golden palace, ordinary people are starving, while their king dines on delicacies imported from across the world. This is the story of how one nation's fury reshaped the entire course of human history. This is the French Revolution.
By the late 1780s, France was a country teetering on the edge of collapse. King Louis XVI sat on a throne inherited from centuries of absolute monarchy, believing his power came from God himself. But behind the glittering halls of Versailles, the nation was bankrupt. Decades of war, including France's costly support of the American Revolution, had drained the treasury dry. While the royal family and the aristocracy lived in extraordinary luxury, the vast majority of French citizens, the so-called Third Estate, were crushed under brutal taxation. Bread, the staple of every poor family's diet, had become almost unaffordable. Farmers lost their harvests to bad weather. City workers couldn't feed their children. Meanwhile, the nobility and clergy paid almost nothing in taxes at all. In the system called the Estates General, the rigid hierarchy where the clergy, the nobility, and everyone else were divided into three unequal classes, the Third Estate, representing over 95% of the population, had almost no political power. Resentment was boiling. All it needed was a spark.
That spark came on July 14, 1789. In the heart of Paris, a furious crowd, armed with pitchforks, stolen muskets, and raw desperation, marched towards the Bastille, a towering fortress prison that stood as a symbol of royal tyranny. After hours of chaotic fighting, the Bastille fell. Its capture wasn't just a military victory, it was a psychological earthquake. For the first time, the people of France realized something extraordinary. The king's power could be broken. News of the Bastille's fall spread like wildfire across the country. Peasants rose up against their landlords. Cities erupted in protest. Within weeks, the National Assembly, a new revolutionary government formed by the Third Estate, abolished feudal privileges entirely. Then came a document that would echo through history, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, proclaiming liberty, equality, and fraternity as the new foundation of French society. As revolutionary fervor grew, King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette became prisoners in their own country. In 1791, desperate to escape, they attempted to flee France in disguise. They were caught near the border, dragged back to Paris in humiliation, and from that moment, their fate was sealed. The monarchy that had ruled France for nearly 1,000 years was formally abolished in 1792. France became a republic. A year later, Louis XVI was led to the guillotine, a chilling new machine designed for quick, humane execution. Before a massive crowd, the king who once ruled by divine right was beheaded like a common criminal. 9 months later, Marie Antoinette met the same fate. But the revolution didn't end with the monarchy's fall. it spiraled into something far darker. A radical leader named Maximilien Robespierre rose to power, convinced that only ruthless purification could save the revolution from its enemies. What followed became known as the Reign of Terror. Suspected traitors, former nobles, priests, and even fellow revolutionaries were dragged before tribunals with little more than accusation as evidence. Tens of thousands were executed. The guillotine became a grim, almost daily spectacle in Paris, a symbol both of justice and of unrestrained fear. Ironically, the very terror Robespierre unleashed eventually consumed him. In 1794, his own allies turned against him, fearing they would be next. Robespierre was arrested and, in a bitter twist of fate, executed on the same guillotine he had used against so many others. With Robespierre gone, France entered a period of uneasy stability under a new government called the Directory. But the nation was still fractured, economically unstable, and politically fragile. Out of this chaos emerged a young, ambitious military general, Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon's brilliant military victories made him a national hero. In 1799, he seized power in a coup, effectively ending the revolutionary era and setting the stage for his rise as Emperor of France. The revolution that began as a cry for liberty ultimately gave birth to a new kind of empire.
So, why does the French Revolution still matter today? Because it fundamentally changed how humanity thinks about power, rights, and government. The old idea that kings ruled by divine right was shattered forever. In its place rose new ideals: democracy, human rights, and the belief that ordinary citizens deserve a voice in how they are governed. These ideas didn't stay in France. They spread across Europe and the world, inspiring revolutions, reforms, and constitutions for centuries to come. The French Revolution proved a powerful and terrifying truth. When people are pushed too far, they can tear down even the mightiest of empires and build something entirely new from the ashes. From the storming of the Bastille to the fall of an emperor, the French Revolution remains one of history's most dramatic turning points, a reminder that the price of freedom is often paid in sacrifice, but its legacy can last forever.